Good evening and a warm welcome to Rushcliffe Borough Council's council meeting. I'd like to remind everyone that the meeting is being live streamed on YouTube. A recording of the meeting will be available afterwards on the council's YouTube channel. In addition, other people may film, record, post on social media or blog from this meeting. The use of any such images or sound recordings is not under the council's control. Any councillor who wishes to speak should raise their hand and your request will be noted. You will be asked to speak in turn by me, and then you may turn on your microphone. Once you have finished speaking, would you please turn off your microphone? In respect of voting, when asked by me, councillors should raise their hand to indicate how they wish to vote. If a recorded call is requested by 4 councillors, councillors' names will be called out alphabetically by the monitoring officer. Please confirm your vote by saying for, against, abstain. A councillor may raise a point of order or make a personal explanation at any time by raising their hand, and I will hear them immediately and my ruling on the matter will be final. During any debate, if I stand up, any councillor speaking at the time must stop and sit down. Everyone in the room must be silent. I would also like to remind councillors to ensure that speeches must be directed to the matter under debate only. We will be having a short 5-minute break at around 8:30 and at appropriate time between agenda items. Please can I also ask you to make sure that you don't block your laptops, that you will be able to speak into the microphones, please. So I would like to call the opening prayer, pause to allow councillors the opportunity to leave the room before prayers are said. If anybody wishes to leave the room, then please do so now. I would like to invite Father Tom Merrick to open the meeting with a prayer. Thank you, Father Tom.
Just a small number of prayers. First of all, for all those involved in local government. Mighty God, we pray for those who exercise authority in government, and especially in this borough of Rushcliffe. God, that they may be upright in character and wise in judgment, seeking first and foremost the good of the community, not their own advantage, and so direct and strengthen them in all their work and their planning, that they may further your will among us for the glory of your name. Amen. The prayer for partnership in service. O God, in whose providence we are closely bound together in the bundle of life, help us to remember how much our lives depend upon the courage and industry, the honesty and integrity of our fellow men and women. May we be mindful of their needs and grateful for their services, and faithful ourselves in our responsibilities towards them. For Jesus' sake, amen. And it seems that since we were declared to be in a region of drought, it's rained every day. Nonetheless, an ancient prayer for rain. O God, Heavenly Father, who by thy Son, Jesus Christ, has promised to all them that seek thy kingdom and thy righteousness thereof, all things necessary for their bodily sustenance. Send us, we beseech thee, in this our necessity, such moderate rain and showers, that we may receive the fruits of the earth to our comfort and to thy honour, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. And may God bless you in your deliberations.
Thank you, Father Tom Merrick. Thank you. Okay, everybody's back in. Item 1 is apologies for absence. Are there any apologies?
Yes, thank you. Apologies have been received from Councillor Phillips. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item 2, declarations of interest. Are there any disclosures of interest? Councillor Gore.
Yeah, do we need to? Well, I've been advised that it might be useful to declare an interest as a secondary school teacher in the city. But obviously, on item 11, voting about reorganisation, wouldn't want to be accused of anything strange. So leave it there.
Okay.
I'd like to declare an interest in item 11 as I'm an employee of Nottinghamshire County Council.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I suppose I should do the same. I'm an employee of Futures, a company that's jointly owned by Nottinghamshire County Council and Nottingham City Council.
Thank you. Councillor Malinder, sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, I also have to declare an interest in item 11 as I'm an employee of Nottingham City Council.
Thank you. Is that it? Yeah. So item number 3 is to approve as a correct record the minutes of the meeting of the council held on the 22nd of May 2025. Councillor Clark, would you move the minutes?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Happy to move those minutes.
Thank you. And Councillor Brennan, would you second the minutes, please?
Yes, I'm happy to. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. So we'll go to the vote on it. All in favour of those minutes? Unanimous, I believe. Yeah.
We just check those.
Yeah. Anyone against? Any abstentions? I declare the votes carried. So item 4 is Mayor's announcements. I'd just like to let you know that everybody's been keeping me very busy and it's been very enjoyable. Thank you. Our wife and myself have been to 8 events up to now. We've been to Soar Boating Club, 72nd birthday celebration, Normanton on Soar, which we had a lovely time there. And we were taken on the canal up towards Loughborough, and then they took us back the other way to show us the other side of it. June 15th, morning service to celebrate the communities and the King's official birthday celebrations. And on Thursday, the 19th of June, technology showcase event at British Geological Survey, just happens to be in Keyworth. And Rushcliffe Borough Council also had their officers and various staff there as well. Proms in the Park and the Armed Forces Day at Bridgeford Park. We were there for many hours enjoying the time there, and as the evening came there was even more people pouring into the area. I went on Saturday the July the 5th to the opening of the new business called Wellness Shed, which was Farm Echo in Scrutiny, and was asked to make a speech with them and a proposed toast. Pilgrimage to Critch, where I laid a wreath Lorraine was with me at that. And Ratcliffe-on-Trent Carnival, asking me to judge the stalls and present the trophies. And I can tell you, I wore my suit, which about stuck to me for the rest of the day. On the 20th of this week, on the Sunday, is my civic service at St Mary Magdalene's Church in Keyworth. So if you haven't had an invite, any councillors wish to turn up, please feel free to do so. And on Monday, the Bridgefield Team Park, I went in the afternoon to cut the ribbon, and joining us was pupils from Westbridge Virginia School and Prelude, who brought in the event, for the project, which was part funded by the UK Shared Prosperity Fund. The children enjoyed themselves, and an ice cream van was provided. So I went along and tested it first because I didn't want the children to feel ill at all. Also was Cabinet Member Jonathan Wheeler attending, along with Deputy Leader and Cabinet Portfolio Holder for Business and Growth, Councillor Abby Brennan. Nice to see you both there as well. So I'll close this. I've got a couple of more events coming up in the near future, but I thought I'd let you know that I have been doing something. So thank you. Item 5. Councillor Clark, have you any announcements?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just 2 or 3. You mentioned the Proms in the Park, very successful event as always, but also more recently was the Film and Food Festival. So just shows how well Rushcliffe put on these big, massive events where thousands, literally thousands of people do attend. So they're very well regarded and very well thought of. Sadly, earlier this week, we had some travellers invade Gridgeford Park, but they were moved on very quickly, thanks to, and I would like to thank the police especially, who came along. Our officers worked very diligently, and the police responded very quickly, and thankfully the travellers were moved on. So thank you to the police. The other thing is that we have been awarded green flags again. So 3 for Sharp Hill, for the Hook, and for Rushcliffe Country Park, where we've again been awarded the green flag, and that just shows how well regarded our services to the public are in Rushcliffe. And the very last thing, Mr. Mayor, I want to assure councillors that in future the Chief Executive and I will check to see what ties we are going to be wearing, because we didn't realise we were actually going to be wearing the same tie. So we'll try and make sure that doesn't happen again. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. So item 6, I believe, Chief Exec, Mr. Hill, you don't have any announcements. Thank you. Item 7 is a citizen's question which has been received from Mr. Gaff. Mr. Gaff, would you please ask your question when you sit down? Thank you for attending us. If you'd like to read your question out, please.
Feels like Daniel before the lions here, must admit. Question: can this councillors and its officials, officers, categorically assure the residents of Tollerton Park Estate that it is safe to continue to live on Tollerton Park Estate and to continue to grow and consume fruit and vegetables which we produce on the land of the former RAF Tollerton site?
Thank you very much. Yeah. Councillor Inglis, please would you respond to the question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for your question, Mr. Gaff. The council's position on these points was sent out in a letter along with a detailed briefing document, both hand-delivered to all the Tottenham Park homes on the 7th of July this year as an expedited response to the residents in relation to the question you raised today. We hope that the residents and yourself found the details helpful, with some assurance from the investigations and the information that the council holds, and that you'll be able to follow the good practice advice contained in the correspondence.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gaff. You could return to your seat if you wish in the public gallery, or if you feel that you would like to escape us, you are free to do so. So that's down to you, sir. Thank you. Item 8 is petitions. No petitions have been received. Item 9 is approval of the Scrutiny annual reports 2024-25. And could I ask Councillor Clark, will you move the report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an incredibly important part of the council's work. Scrutiny is very important, both to scrutinise what has happened and policy development. So there are the various annual reports attached. So I don't know if you want to just ask Councillor Brennan just to second it, and then I'll invite the various chairmen to present their reports.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Councillor Brennan, would you please second the report?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to second the report.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So if I could invite, first of all, Councillor Combalak to present the report. Just to remind everybody, these, of course, are the chairman of last year's scrutiny groups. They're not the current chairman necessarily. Perhaps if you could invite Councillor Combalak, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Over the past year, we've allocated many scrutiny requests to the relevant groups and helped guide and formulate these, even redirecting requests to other more appropriate committees such as LDF, or even in the case of open spaces, to the leader. This has led to some very interesting and productive debate, guidance and policy formation. Scrutiny of performance figures has shown Rushcliffe continues to deliver high-level services, and I would thank the officers for their help in achieving this. As noted in the report on customer satisfaction, feedback has shown an overall picture of steadiness and stability, for which Rushcliffe is well renowned. Having now transferred to chair one of the other scrutiny groups, Growth and Development, I'm looking forward to now scrutinising work at the coalface, so to speak. It is already proving interesting to see how transitional changes in scrutiny are being enacted. I have to thank the officers and members for their time and dedication over the many years I've been chairman of this particular group. Charlotte Caven-Attack, with whom I established an excellent working relationship, and Peter Linfield, the lead officer, over the last year. I now look forward to further successful scrutiny contributions to the running of this excellent council. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. You could invite Councillor Edderveen, please.
Thank you. I'm obviously going to take the report as read. It's quite a detailed report. And I'd like to thank all of the members and substitutes who took part in some sometimes lively debate on a range of topics such as audits and constitution. Other than the usual scrutiny subjects of audits and constitution, we also considered the Redmond review, which has led us to appoint an independent person suitably qualified to add their professional opinion. I'm sure it's seen as a positive move, and as far as I can tell, Mr. Corsten, our independent person, has certainly made a contribution to his first meeting. So with that, I'd just like to thank again everyone who was involved in it, including officers and their input, and obviously our external presenters, which have been the internal and external auditors mainly.
If I could invite Councillor Williams, please.
Thank you. On community scrutiny group, again, we had a very varied year, as always, from looking at the use of community facilities to Nottinghamshire local nature recovery strategy. I would like to thank all the officers for coming to the various meetings and doing their presentations, especially Daryl Birchart, lead officer, and Emma Richardson for doing the minutes and keeping us on check of when we're on YouTube. But then also with the councillors who make up the scrutiny group for all their contributions throughout the year, especially Councillor Plant, my vice chair, for her support. And finally, to all the many thousands of viewers that we get who tune into every meeting in order to witness the best scrutiny group at the council. So I move the report as read of the work that's been done. Thank you.
And finally, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Matthews, please.
Just to contradict my colleague, Councillor Williams, we'll save the best till last. Growth and Development Scrutiny Group this year had quite a number of varied topics that we reviewed. The report is there. I take it as everybody has read it, but some really detailed, interesting topics that will continue to probably reoccur at the committee, including the health of our town centres, the crematorium, management charges in open spaces, which was a real bone of contention that went to the leader and is still being worked on. A joint committee with communities on accessible housing and infrastructure delivery, and how the borough works and engages with its parishes, etc. Again, my thanks to all the members, the councillors on that committee, including my vice chair, Councillor Way, for her inputs and keeping me on the straight and narrow, and the officers and staff that help us prepare the reports. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On my papers, I have Councillor Plant and Councillor Polenta have indicated that they will speak for the Labour group as the scrutiny group of vice chairs. So if they would like to speak, they're welcome.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you, Councillor Williams, who's now moved on to higher things. It was a pleasure working with you. Once again, as it's already been said, we've covered some very interesting and informative topics this year. It is really important that members do have the opportunity, obviously, to be appropriately informed on the topics that are chosen for scrutiny. But also, equally, and if not more important, that issues that are raised by members and recommendations that are made, if agreed, are actually actioned. The joint scrutiny group meeting with Growth and Development on accessible housing was extremely informative and was a real area of concern in terms of the health and well-being of many of our more vulnerable residents. Members made many excellent recommendations in the annual report and suggestions which, if implemented, could make a real improvement to the quality of life for our more vulnerable residents. I would like to say that it would, I feel, be good practice if the actual annual report that came out with the agendas was actually seen also by the vice chair before it was actually came out. I'm sure that the chair sees it, but I think that would certainly be, well, show good practice. And I also wanted to repeat what I said last year. We were told last year that there would be more training on scrutiny by officers, but that hasn't actually happened. I know there are lots of other things on the agenda at the moment, but I still think that, as Councillor Clark has said, scrutiny is a really crucial, important part of our council. And I think we, in terms of the peer group, there were certain comments. I know that was over a year ago that it could be improved. So I do think that more training would still be a very good thing for all our members. Thank you.
I would like also to confirm that this report accurately reflects the work and deliberations of the Governance Scrutiny Group. As a former Vice Chair, I would like to thank the Chair and the officers for all their help and support, and all the members for their consistent and thoughtful contributions. At its best, scrutiny creates space to explore, to question, and to ensure our decisions are well-founded, transparent, and accountable. Good scrutiny is not oppositional for the sake of it. It is a practice of democratic rigor. It challenges assumptions and sharpens decision-making, regardless of political affiliation. But we must also ask, how accessible is scrutiny, both for the councillors and the residents? The language in technical finance, audit and governance reports can often feel impenetrable. The terminology can act as a barrier to fuller participation. This is not a criticism of our officers, whose help, professionalism and expertise are beyond doubt. Rather, it is a call for all of us as a council to make information more accessible where we can, and where we cannot, to commit to regular structured training for councillors, particularly given the rotational nature of our roles. Scrutiny must also be accessible to our residents, not only through their elected representatives, but directly. While scrutiny is designed to be politically neutral, its structure and scope are inevitably shaped by the political leadership of the Council. That's not a defect, it's a reality. We are scrutinizing decisions made within the direction set by this administration. But even within that space, we have a duty to interrogate, to offer challenge, and to raise alternative perspectives on behalf of the communities we represent. Before I close, I must express for one more time my concern about the constitutional changes passed earlier this year, changes which, in my personal view, constrain this chamber and limit the conversation we are able to have within it. At the heart of any democratic institution is the Constitution. It is the foundation for free flow and open debate. It should empower all of us, all councillors, regardless of party or group size, to scrutinize, to advocate, and to speak with conviction. Yet we see changes that can weaken that foundation. Most significant is the change of motions to items solely within the statutory duties of this Council. This can limit our capacity to speak to the broader issues affecting our residents. Our community are shaped by national policies, global events, and collective struggles. And we must be able to speak out and scrutinize on climate action, on ethical investment, on war, on justice. This is what our residents expect from us. Let us use scrutiny, not just a mechanism for oversight, but as a space for democratic imagination and accountability. Let us use this chamber not just to administer, but to represent. And let us ensure that whoever sits here has the tools and the freedom to speak, to question, and to lead.
Thank you very much, Councillor Planton-Polenta. I have on my list here, Councillor Way has indicated that she will speak on behalf of the Leak Independent Group.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank everyone involved in these groups for their hard work. And this is a comprehensive report, and a great deal has been achieved at Growth and Development this year, but there's more to be done on these topics and others. I do want to follow on from something that Councillor Plant has just said and raise the point about the publication of these reports. The first time I saw this report was when the papers to this council meeting were published. As Vice Chair of Growth and Development Scrutiny, my name and picture appears on this report, giving the impression that I had approved it. I believe other Vice Chairs, as Councillor Plant has just said, have been also ignored in this process. Producing a document in someone's name without their approval is not only discourteous, but could lead to serious repercussions should anything contentious appear. I therefore request that in future, anyone whose name is appended to any report or other document is given the opportunity to see it before publication. We were pleased to see, I had quite a lot to say about the scrutiny process, but we were pleased to see in today's councillors' connection that the scrutiny process is to be reviewed, as was suggested in the peer review, and hope this will address concerns many of us have had for a while. I'd like to thank Councillor Matthews for his kind comments, and despite my comments, we will be voting and accepting these reports.
Thank you very much. I am open for councillors if they'd like to speak, and I have Councillor Richard Mullender. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, it's always very sort of useful and very important that we have a robust scrutiny function within councils. I talk to a lot of councils up and down the country, and believe me, there are some places that do it a lot worse than we do, but there are equally ones that do it better as well. And I'm pleased as well that we're going to have a review of the way we review things as well. We did a number of years ago, and I think it's right that we do this every several years just to make sure that our processes are fit for purpose. We've done a lot of work with the Community Scrutiny Group this last year on a wide range of topics. The housing one's been mentioned already. Climate change as well. One of the things I'm particularly pleased to see is that we actually have done proper work on climate change, that we're actually monitoring our emissions and making actions, not as fast as I would like, not always in the direction that I would like, but at least we are doing things. And some councils did little more than pass a climate emergency motion and have done nothing since. So I'm pleased that we have our scrutiny function here. I hope that we can make it more effective through a review of that coming up fairly soon, and I look forward to seeing the outcomes of that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Birch is indicated.
Yeah. Councillor Birch.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'd just like to say a very quick thank you to all the officers and all the councillors involved in the scrutiny process. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Brennan, I know you didn't ask for, you know.
No, I didn't reserve the right to speak and have nothing further to add to the debate. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So, Councillor Clark, you have the right to reply to the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have nothing further to add other than to respond to both Councillor Plant and Councillor Wade. Made a sensible suggestion, request, whatever, and we'll take that on board and include that for next time round. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So we go to the vote then. So all those in favour, please show. Anyone against? Any abstentions? Okay. I declare the vote is carried. Item 10, appointment of independent persons. Councillor Verdi, will you move the report, please? Thank you.
So in terms of approving arrangements for dealing with any issues arising thereof. At this time, it's not considered cost effective to commence a recruitment process to appoint new individuals to the role. We do currently have 2 members at the moment in the roles. And this is in the context of the lengthy training period for these roles and also the uncertainty with regards to local reorganisation timeframes.
Therefore, section 2 of the report is recommending that the council extends the appointment of the current independent members, Mr. Christopher Richards and Miss Helen Richardson, as independent persons, with further authority for the monitoring officer to also extend that for another 2 years. And that recommendation is in section 2 of the report, which I would ask council to endorse. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Verdi, thank you. Councillor Sims, will you second the report?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I have down that Councillor Jen Walker has indicated that she'll speak for the Labour group, and then I can open up to other councillors. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On behalf of the Labour Group, I'd like to extend our thanks to Mr. Richards and Ms. Richardson for their professionalism these past 2 years and fully endorse the recommendation to extend the appointments for an additional 2 years. Thank you.
Councillor Verdi, you have a right to reply to the debate. Oh, better do, hadn't I? Yeah. Councillor Sims, you have the right to reserve the right to say.
No, I don't want to say anything. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now I can say it. Councillor Verdi, you have the right to reply to the debate. No. Yeah.
No, I have nothing further to say.
Thank you. So we'll go to the vote. All in favour, please show. Anyone against? Any abstentions? I declare the vote carried. Thank you. Item 11 is local government reorganisation update. I'd like to remind members to treat everyone with respect during the debate to ensure that everyone can speak freely. Councillor Clark has 10 minutes to propose the report. Councillor Brennan has 5 minutes to second it, with remaining councillors also having 5 minutes. Please note that you can also only speak once during the debate. So, Councillor Clark, will you move the report, please?
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Mayor. This item is indeed probably the most important for the borough of Rushcliffe for many years. I could say that it is all there in the report, which is a lengthy report, so nothing much to say, but that would not do it justice. Local government reorganisation, or LGR for short, as I'll now refer to it, is consuming a massive amount of time in the council with officers and meeting other council leaders and chief executives. Following the December 2024 white paper, the government invited two-tier areas like Nottinghamshire to submit proposals for reorganising into unitary authorities. The main aim being to abolish the two-tier layers and replace with single-tier authorities to streamline services, reduce complexity and to cut costs. Councils in Nottinghamshire submitted 3 core options on the 21st of March this year. All these options proposed 2 unitary councils. Rushcliffe advanced a 4th option proposing 3 unitary councils. Nationally, this reorganisation is part of a larger devolution project, although Nottinghamshire is already part of a mayoral combined authority. Critics warn it is ill thought out and costly, with estimates of £16 million per area, but potentially billions across the country when you take into account redundancies and pensions. Rushcliffe's position is that no part of the borough of Rushcliffe should be part of any newly expanded city area. Rushcliffe is well run, financially stable and delivering first-class services to its residents and businesses. and they are our priority. The City Council has a track record of closing facilities, libraries and leisure centres, to give just 2 examples. So any expanded city area will mean that Rushcliffe would end up bailing out the city's bankruptcy and placing services such as libraries and leisure centres under severe threat of closure. The original 3 proposals have now been reduced to 2, discarding the option to retain the current city and county boundaries, thereby leaving 2 options on the table, namely, and this is to use the Price Waterhouse numbering, PwC numbering, 1B, which proposes Broxtowe and Gedling joining an expanded city, or 1E, which proposes Broxtowe and Rushcliffe joining an expanded city area. Our 3 council option has found little favour amongst the other councils at the moment, so to be pragmatic, I'm sure you will not be surprised, Mr. Mayor, to learn that we favour option 1B, as this keeps Rushcliffe away from the threat of subsidising the city, and the recommendations propose that we support that. I have to say that those who support 1E, which is the Rushcliffe and Broxtowe going into the city, do not understand the financial issues, namely that the rest of the county needs Rushcliffe's stable financial position in order to retain services and keep council tax lower. This will help sustain the rest of the county as a viable unitary. Let me say at this point, we need to be absolutely emphatic about this. What we are considering tonight is not a final decision on a final bid. It is a decision on the approach to the next stage of working up more detailed proposals for the final bid in November. I have to say, Mr. Mayor, we needn't have brought it to the council. Not all the councils are, but we want to be open and we want to share these updates with councillors because I believe that is the right thing to do. We are proposing pausing work on our 3 council option at this stage. However, if circumstances change, then we will return to working up our 3 council option. An example would be if Nottinghamshire area chose 1E as their preferred option of Broxtowe and Rushcliffe going with the city, then we would start working again on our 3 council option. It is interesting to note that whilst many others seem to be saying Rushcliffe should prop up the city financially, the city leadership themselves appear to be claiming that their financial woes will be sorted in 2 to 3 years' time, exactly when any new arrangements for unitaries would be coming into being. Therefore, why do they need Rushcliffe included anyway? There has been a lot of talk about evidence. Well, if someone asks what evidence do we have to back up our claim that we do not want to be part of the expanded new city area, a petition still running has approaching 15,000 signatures and it is signed by cross-party support. Many people signing it said they supported different political parties, but they definitely agreed with not combining with an expanded city area. That is evidence. I will conclude by reminding everybody, as I said earlier, that this is not a final decision. As I said earlier, it is to support an interim approach in order to do further work to finalise a submission in November. And I would like to take the opportunity, Mr. Mayor, to thank the Chief Executive of Peter Linfield and all the officers involved in this project, and there are many officers involved in this project, as it is taking up so much time and taxpayers' money. Many meetings and conversations have been taking place, consuming everyone's time. Some people might say it's not going to happen anyway. Well, let's wait and see. For now, we have to deal with what we've got. And as we stand tonight, the government is adamant that it is going ahead. I'll therefore, Mr. Mayor, move the recommendations on the supplementary or the agenda supplement, the recommendations in 2.1, A, B, C, D, E and F as printed on page 1 of that agenda item 11. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Councillor Brennan, will you second the report? And do you wish to reserve the right to speak?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to second the recommendations and I will reserve the right to speak.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, man, I just think there was also a G within the recommendation, just so that we don't miss any.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I forgot to turn the page. Sorry. Yes, and I'm including that as well.
We'll let you off this time then. Okay. Councillor Jem Walker has indicated that she will speak for the Labour group, and then we can open up to other councillors.
Has it been seconded?
Yes, it has.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Jem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Labour Group did submit an amendment to the recommendation to officers yesterday because we believe this proposal is unbalanced, is based on bad data and potentially damaging not only to Rushcliffe, but also the wider Nottingham and Nottinghamshire. Unfortunately, despite our efforts, it's not made it to full council tonight, so we will not be able to vote for the recommendations as they are set out, because it would mean we are not entering this period of consultation and debate with an open mind to the benefits of all the options, but instead have made politicized assumptions that will blind us to new, possibly beneficial possibilities. Let's be clear, the structure of local government should serve the needs of our communities, not the other way around. But the recommendations we have before us today is a proposed reorganization plan that risks doing just the opposite. It straitjackets us and the process because it's been hijacked by the Rushcliffe Conservatives. That means that all useful, essential debate has been pushed out and replaced with political rhetoric and point scoring, as demonstrated in the leader's speech. Most concerning of all, this proposal is being pushed forward without a full or transparent exploration of all the alternatives. We're not investigating all the options, not thoroughly, not openly, and not in good faith. There are other ways to improve efficiencies, to strengthen service delivery, and to make our collective councils more effective. But instead of exploring those, we're presented with a single path, wrapped in the language of inevitability, with a 64k consultancy price tag. That's not good governance. That's shortcutting a process that should be rooted in evidence, consultation, and community voice. We must ask why there's been no serious evaluation or evaluation of the boundary review when the government has said that they would consider changes that promote strong public service and financial stability. Existing districts are considered building blocks for proposals, not unbreakable lines that we cannot reimagine. Where is the evidence that tells us option 1B is superior to 1E, which has been omitted from this recommendation? Reading through the PricewaterhouseCoopers document, it gives the impression that they're level pegging in terms of service provision. The reality is that the Rushcliffe Conservatives have politicised this debate from the beginning, so we cannot truly bring all the options to the table, nor explore options that may even benefit the people. Council, we are not just opposing the recommendations that they set out, we are demanding a better process, a reliance on much better evidence, and therefore better respect for the people we serve. We owe it to our residents to ask, have we really done the work this process is asking of us? Have we looked at every alternative without bias? Until the answer to those questions is a confident yes, we will not support this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would any councillors like to speak? Thank you.
Thomas, I said Thomas.
Councillor Thomas, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got a few comments to make first, and then an amendment to propose. The most cost-effective option, that of a single unitary, is illustrated on page 8 of the PricewaterhouseCoopers report. It was discounted for political reasons. See pages 28 and 32 of the report. What were these political reasons, Councillor Clark? Were they in the best interest of residents or the best interest of political parties? I still believe this option should be brought back onto the table. If implemented with a commitment to local area committees that have actual clout, this option could really deliver for the whole community. It seems that the city will be working up an option with a bigger hole in the centre of the donut. Clauses E and F of the recommendation as it stands reduce Rushcliffe's ability to have any influence in this exercise, particularly if some of the conurbation within Rushcliffe should be proposed for inclusion. Working up a variant of this option that might suit Rushcliffe better could be an activity at this point, though not in a way that costs another £64,000. The river is a hard boundary with distinct economic and cultural identities on either side. And if district boundaries are going to be changed, options that use the river as the boundary of an expanded city could be considered. I can't vote for this recommendation as it stands, although there are some clauses that we may all agree with. Yes, it's certainly important that Rushcliffe works with other councils going forward and tries to be part of a consensus. One issue I want to raise is that the storyline seems to be shifting from new councils will be formed to some districts will be added into the city and the county takes the rest. It's absolutely vital going forward that the new councils are formed from the ground up, not by changing the remits of Nottinghamshire and city councils. This should be added to the recommendations. It's important for the following reasons. To ensure a management culture change where that's necessary. To modernise constitutions and do away with so-called traditions that just get in the way. To strip budgeting back to a zero base to enable best efficiencies. To implement the best and most cost-effective IT systems rather than the one that a current council uses. And to give fair opportunities to staff in all the councils to move into new roles when the new councils are formed. Also to allay the fears that residents might have. For this reason, I am proposing the following amendment, and Councillor Way will second. This is to add a clause to the recommendation. This is clause, and it's on the board there. Clause H, to add at the end, recognises that after the reorganisation, all councils in the Nottingham and Nottinghamshire area will be completely new organisations. I think if that is included, it will give Rushcliffe a chance to make sure that we promote and publicise that fact. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Of Councillor Birch.
Oh, sorry, Councillor.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Okay. Yeah, Councillor Way, are you seconding, please?
Yes, I second this amendment and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you. Now I've got to look around. So,
I think we go back to Councillor Clark. Councillor Clark to whether he accepts the amendment which has been moved.
Councillor Clark, do you accept the proposed amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we accept that amendment.
So now the amendments.
It now goes back over.
Because it's been accepted, so it's now part of the whole.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
That's the same one.
Okay.
Fine.
But so councillors, because an amendment has been made and accepted, it becomes part of the substantive discussion. So debate is now still open as it was before, with the new one at the bottom, as you can see on the screen now. H has now been added, which is where we progress. So because it's been accepted, it feeds back into the substantive motion. Only speak once.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Birch. It's your turn. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I too would like to propose an amendment. And what we are trying to do is add more democracy to this process. I think this process has been heavily politicised from the word go, unfortunately. And I do have to respectfully disagree with Councillor Clark's claim that he's brought it here to full council as it's the right thing to do. It's my view that you're bringing it here to create a dichotomy between yourselves and the Labour group and to make political gain from it, which is your right to do. But I think it's very transparent to anybody with political brains. That's what you're doing. And your behaviour during this process, your conduct, betrays your claim that you are trying to be open and transparent. All opposition councillors, who, by the way, represent 56% of the votes in the 2023 Borough Council elections, you're only in power because of the first past the post system. A majority of Rushcliffe's residents did not vote for you in 2023. 70% of them didn't vote for you in 2024. Excuse me. We heard about the first update to the LGR in March by reading it in the paper. You didn't have the respect or the common decency to tell the opposition councillors. There's been very little communication throughout the process. We were given 2 working days notice about a meeting last week, and we only received the full published papers of this meeting the Monday just gone. That is not transparency. That is not open. I rebuke you for that. I think that's absolutely wrong. And as an opposition councillor, I have to communicate to you how disappointed and anti-democratic I feel that is. So we've heard a lot about the petition. Now, what the petition is an unverifiable change.org petition. And it does not hold up to scrutiny in the sense that it's not verifiable. We don't know who these signatures are. They could be anybody from all over the country. And I strongly suspect, quite understandably, there have been lots of Conservative support from Edinburgh, from Cornwall, from wherever. We don't know where they're from. It's not verifiable. So what this amendment is proposing to do and seeking to do is to call for more engagement and an engagement survey with the public. And what that would mean is we have verifiable data. We know what the people of Rushcliffe think about this. We can't rely on your petition. It is unreliable. It is not solid data. And we have a world-renowned, a nationally renowned MRI physicist on the Labour ranks, and I'm sure she would agree. This is not rigorous data that you are proposing in the form of your petition. It's greatly flawed. So what we're trying to do is add that democratic accountability, and we'd love to see a referendum, but my understanding is a referendum isn't viable in this case. That would be my first choice, my dream option. But certainly official public engagement in the form of an e-petition or paper petitions, whatever it may be, I think the more engagement we have with the public, the better. So that is what this amendment seeks to do. We want to give the people of Rushcliffe a true voice. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, what amendment?
Is Councillor Birch?
Beg your pardon, I did submit it. I assumed it would come up on the screen magically like it did in the previous instance. Have you received it? It has been emailed before the meeting.
Where was it emailed to, Councillor Birch? Monitoring officer. Do you know what time it was actually submitted? 1854. Yeah, sorry, in which case we would have been setting up the room so Democratic Services wouldn't have been. So our apologies. We'll see if we can find it and put it onto screen.
The amendment was submitted earlier than 1854, but issues was raised by the Deputy Monitoring Officer and work has taken place before the meeting to make the wording suitable, hence why it was submitted in 1854. So would Councillor Clark like to apologise for his behaviour, please?
Oh, Mr. Mayor, absolutely love to comment on that because at least I'm standing up. I have the respect to the mayor to stand up when I'm talking. And 1854 cannot possibly be deemed to be reasonable timing to allow officers to evaluate an amendment 6 minutes before a meeting. That is just ludicrous.
Point of order. Point of clarification, because I think Councillor Clark's misunderstood in his rage. What Councillor Chewings just said, we submitted the motion in good time. I first communicated with officers earlier on today out of courtesy. I mean, my understanding is you can submit an amendment at any time anyway. I sent an email to the CEO and the Deputy Monitoring Officer before noon today. The final amendment with the final tweaked wording is what they received with 6 minutes to go, following discussions with the Deputy Monitoring Officer immediately before the meeting, which were respectful, and we were trying to do the right thing. So, Councillor Clark, I'd appreciate it if you could lead by example, not be so petulant, and please try not to make political points out of this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to clarify, I have received an email from Councillor Birch with a proposed amendment. The wording is for a new subparagraph G to the recommendation to ensure the final proposal is informed by the views of local communities. Rushcliffe Borough Council will actively engage town and parish councils, local community organisations and businesses as part of a broader engagement strategy. In addition, to provide central government with an accurate reflection of residents' views, the council will undertake a borough-wide engagement survey to ensure the voices of Rushcliffe constituents are clearly heard. I understand it is now visible on the screen. So this is a brought by Councillor Birch.
So if we will just give members just although it's been read out, just take a moment to read it and digest it, and then we'll move to it be seconded, and then we'll progress on to the next stage.
Thank you, members. Councillor Birch, are you proposing that then, please? Thank you. And do you have a seconder?
Yes, I'll second it and reserve the right to speak.
Thank you. So we'll take 5 minutes to consider it, then, please. Yes.
We need to adjourn so you can consider the
fees their body is there.
Just waiting for one more councillor to return and then we can get underway.
Okay, thank you. Now that we've moved and seconded the proposed amendment, Councillor Clark, as leader, do you accept the proposal? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, most of this has actually already been done and is already in the documents. If you look at page 6, paragraph 7.2, it's all part of the communication and engagement evaluation. And also the officers are drawing up and the leaders and chief execs are drawing up an engagement strategy as part of the work. And in fact, all these people mentioned are all part of that engagement strategy, which is being developed at the moment. It's also part of the minister's request that public engagement takes place. So basically, this is pretty much all there already in the, so it's just telling people they're doing something they've already been told to do. You could argue a few nuances like where practicable, etc., but we could be here all night discussing one or two words. So we'll just accept the amendment.
Thank you very much. Okay, so
Back to the debate.
yes,
that's
fine. So we're moving back to the debate, and on my list I have Councillor Polenta. If you'd like to speak, thank you.
Local government reorganization should be an opportunity, not a threat. An opportunity to rethink how we govern, how we fund services, and how we make decisions together. A chance to turn into practice a co-produced, participatory form of local government, open to all, from us, by us. But let's be honest, I agree with Councillor Birch. This conversation has been significantly compromised. A petition was weaponized to stoke fear that Nottingham City Council was coming to take over Astley, that the prudent and affluent were under attack. This was a phantasmagoric threat, that's my opinion. And electorally may have worked for the Conservative administration, but I think it worked at the cost of shutting down or compromising the very conversations we need to have. I see now in Component F again a motive worse, opposing the absorption of the Nottingham City, parts of Rust from the Nottingham City. Real democracy isn't a petition distorted by misinformation and conflation of different tiers of government. It's deliberation. It's ward-level assemblies, borough-wide forums, public meetings. It's genuine listening to the people, to the care workers, to the youth workers, to the trade unions, to the ecologists, to the feminists, and especially to young people and children whose futures we are shaping right now. Let's be clear. The true aims of local government organizations are simple: creating financially sustainable authorities and designing structures that can reflect real, evolving, diverse community identities and foster democratic accountability. The debate was never meant to be about who takes over whom. It should have been about how we rebuild a broken system and how we make sure Ratcliffe, Nottingham and Nottinghamshire receive the housing, services and representation they deserve. At its best, local government is a front line of democracy, the part of the state closest to our lives, with the power to redistribute wealth, to protect the vulnerable and foster human flourishing. But in reality, after decades of centralization, austerity and marketization, councils have been politically and financially eviscerated. They are expected to do more with less. Since 2010, the Tories have cut millions from local government. Councils are in crisis. That has not been substantially reserved. Done well, a unitary structure can simplify decision-making, improve services, and pool resources to tackle inequality. But structure alone is not enough. If we simply replicate top-down systems under a new name, we would have missed the point and the opportunity. Reorganization cannot just be about shuffling structure. It must be about power, who holds it, and how it's used. The question that we need to be asked is how do we build institutions that serve people, not profit? How do we embed participation, transparency, and collective care into every layer of local government? How do we ensure councils become agents of social justice, not passive administration of managed decline? We need a new vision reflected in this reorganization, one rooted in justice, democracy, and regional solidarity, a radical localism that puts people before profit and public need before private greed. And that means we need to be adamant austerity has to end, funding has to be restored to pre-2010 levels, and services must be brought in-house. We need to invest in housing, care, and green jobs. We need to fund in councils through fair and progressive taxation. We need democratic devolution, power to flow from the council chambers to the people. That means empower hyperlocal levels of government like parish and town council to co-govern, not just to be consulted. It means supporting neighborhood assemblies and other community and social spaces. We need a local economic democracy. We need to support local cooperatives, municipalizing key services like transport and energy, and ending dependence on exploitative subcontracting and outsourcing. We need as well to feminize the debate. We need a feminist ethics of care. Reorganization must address the social care crisis. Local governments should prioritize social infrastructure, childcare, adult care, libraries, youth services. These are the foundation of a caring society, and they are disproportionately used and provided by women. We need councils and spaces that endorse sanctuary, defending the most marginalized and refuses to collaborate with any hostile environment. Ultimately, local government reorganization must not be a technocratic exercise in binary changes and budget reshuffles. It must be a political project of redistribution, democracy, and care. The choice is stark, managed decline, or radical municipalism. As a socialist, I choose the latter because I believe that every street, every neighborhood, every library, every park and bus route is a space where the fight for a better world begins.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Calvert. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. It now seems clear that the government intend to go ahead with its very tight timetable for local government reorganisation. Accordingly, it is all the more important for all councils to get real about it and not base every decision on self-interest. Unfortunately, our council is yet again acting in self-interest, but only the self-interest of the rural part of the borough. It refuses to consider the interests of West Bridgford, which is a close neighbour of the City of Nottingham and relies on the city for employment, for many leisure and cultural activities and a first-class public transport network. This phobia of the city was enshrined in the petition run by Rushcliffe Conservatives as part of its county council election campaign, which I described at the last but one full council as a tawdry document which combines insulting remarks about the city and its residents with a large dose of scaremongering regarding future levels of council tax. And there'll be more of that later. So I cannot support recommendation F, which prolongs the continued disrespect for a city which is an attractive and diverse place to live and work. Now I wish to comment on recommendations C and D that relate to the go-it-alone 3 unitary option which the council have paid £64,000 to KPMG, or at least that was its budget, to appraise. It is supposed to assess the relative merits of its own option 3 with the 3 favoured options submitted in the interim plan. The analysis is extremely questionable. There is much agreement that of the 6 criteria, 1 to 3, 1, 2 and 3, are based on objective data, while 4 to 6 are very subjective. The scores for criteria 1 to 3 show that option 2B, or 1E, scores best, and option 3 lags 6 points behind. But lo and behold, subjective scores for criteria 4 to 6 favour options 2A and 3. I cannot accept these scores. For example, criteria 4.1 and 4.2 heavily rewards option 3 on the basis that the petition is working together to understand and meet local needs and the views expressed through local engagement. Criteria 6 relates to strong community engagement and neighbourhood empowerment. And again, option 3 scores higher despite the fact that it takes little account of the views of part of the borough and has consistently denied it any neighbourhood empowerment. Despite the arbitrary scores, paragraph 5.5 of this report concedes that option 3 does not perform as well as some other options, such as 2A and 2B. This option should be dropped now, and I cannot support recommendations C and D. It currently has no support from other councils, and it states in paragraph 5.9, if it were to do so, it would cost several £100,000 to put a bid together, not only for consultants' fees, but also for professional expertise in areas such as social care, education, highways, etc., where Rushcliffe do not have the internal knowledge base. If it did have knowledge of these critical and expensive local authority services, it might wake up to the fact that a new unitary authority would be responsible for them and that these are the services that really affect the level of council tax. Talking of council tax, the KPMG analysis on page 8 of Appendix C, which I'm sure you've all digested, it comes to a different view from the petition. It reflects a knowledge of the fact that levels of council tax are largely affected by the services currently provided.
30 seconds.
Okay.
Thank you.
By unitary and county councils and not by borough councils. It estimates that the council tax annually, this is averaged over 2 years, for option 2B, Broxtowe and City and Rushcliffe would be £2,533 per annum, and for option 3, which is the Rushcliffe, Newton, Sherwood and Gedling, would be 2,501, which is only a difference of £32 per year. Finally, I must take issue with paragraph 4.6 of the report, which I think is trying to imply that the PwC report concludes that
Thank
it's
you,
option
Councillor
1B.
Calvert. Thank
Okay,
you.
enough is enough. Thank you.
I have Councillor Debbie Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm supporting option 1B because as it stands, it's the only current option that ensures Rushcliffe is not absorbed into any future merger with a reinvented Nottingham City Council in whole or in part. We should not be used to underwrite the City Council's past mistakes or future ambitions, nor should we be asked to rescue any authority that has consistently failed its residents, mismanaged its finances and shirked its responsibilities. However, here we are, under a forced local government reorganisation, as a successful debt-free council being compelled to do just that. Option 1B provides a clear and deliverable model that offers the best outcome for Rushcliffe. And that should be the primary objective of every single councillor in this chamber who was elected by Rushcliffe residents for Rushcliffe residents. It creates two viable unitary authorities, one for a new Nottingham City with expanded boundaries and one for the rest of the county, including Rushcliffe. It avoids the risks, costs and chaos of more complicated and crucially, it keeps more complicated options and it crucially keeps Rushcliffe whole. Independent analysis backs this up. The experts, PwC, judged option 1B to be the strongest model. It avoids the demographic inequalities and service delivery challenges presented by the other options and gives us the best chance of real, effective public sector reform, which is the whole point of this thing. Any councillor who votes against option 1B or abstains is not putting Rushcliffe residents first. And I can assure you, those residents will remember. Rushcliffe is largely rural, distinct in character and entirely incompatible with being merged into a city-based unitary. The notion that our services, needs and communities could be seamlessly folded into a city structure is unrealistic. We are accountable to the people of Bingham, Radcliffe, Cockgrave, Ruddington, Keyworth, Compton Acres, Eastleek, Westleek, Edwalton, Gampston and West Bridgeford too. Support option 1B because at this point it is the best outcome for Rushcliffe. Support it because we were all elected to serve Rushcliffe, not to sacrifice it to bail out others. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have Councillor Richard Mallender, please. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, the choice again, do we wish to be boiled or fried? It's not a very enviable one either way. Local government, you're right, it's about the voice of the people and local representation for their concerns to be heard. And that's what we all try and do. And that's what the people in the city try and do, and the people in Bassett Law, who are in parentheses I see in the report here, and almost forgotten, I understand, at some meetings. Newark and Sherwood, everybody's trying to do the best. Everybody's coming up with different views. What was the one at Newark the other day? Oh, if Rushcliffe goes in with the city, then we want to carve off everything from Bingham eastwards to have it with that, to do it on parliamentary constituencies. So do you split it on boroughs and districts? Do you split it on parliamentary constituencies? How can you do it? Do you hand it all over to the Boundary Commission? Nothing would ever happen if it gets handed over to the Boundary Commission. I've been through several iterations with them myself, and it takes a long time for any of them to make decisions about anything. And when they do, as they did with the last one, which was during COVID, then it's even bothered to come here. They couldn't do, but even after that, they still made a mess of things as far as many of us are concerned. Local government is indeed the voice of the people. An argument's been made that this is a way of simplifying things, of saving money. of making it more efficient. But is it? A much better way would to give local authorities real and more effective control over their budgets, more effective ways of raising money locally to support services that people need in their areas, regardless of what the boundaries are. And also to make sure that there is sensible redistribution of money and wealth within the United Kingdom. And here I'm looking not just at local government, but at regional government as well, because we all know that's vast amounts of money. When you look at can this project wash its face? Is it going to be viable? Always pushes money down towards London and the southeast and away from the areas that we represent. It's been made the argument this is simplifying things as well by moving away from two layers to one layer. But in reality, we're just moving from 2 layers to 2 higher up layers. With the introduction of strategic authorities, we've already got the mayoral combined authority here. There are other kinds of combined authority around the country, and I now understand there's going to be a 3rd form of strategic authority as well. I did have them written down, but I can't find them just now. 3 different types of strategic authority being looked at. I don't accept that again, because not because there is no argument for efficiency, and not because there's no argument for regional government or even these combined authorities, but because by removing that lowest tier where we are, and for many of us representing the West Bridgford parts of the borough, this is the lowest layer. We don't have town councils, we don't have parish councils. There's been arguments for them left, right, centre, and that's an argument for another day. But we are the lowest level, we are the fundamental level of democracy for the people of Rushcliffe. And I would like to keep that. There has been, my writing is terrible. Yes. The other point I'd like to say is that if we are going to these authorities, these bigger authorities, then we need to have single transferable vote for an electoral system for that. We are using first past the post at the moment. It was built in a time before political parties as we know existed. It's you either for something or for against something. For the king, against the king. For the Cavaliers, for the Roundheads. That's the basis of it. And it's not fit for purpose. It does not work with a multi-party system, which is what we now have. We have at least a 5-party system, 5 major parties within the UK. And at local government, there is a chance for independents to have a voice as well. And the further up you push that level of representation, the less chance there is for independents of all shades and shapes to have a voice. So I do not agree with this, and I refuse to choose between being boiled or fried. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mallender. Councillor Annie Gowland, please.
Thank you. So first I'm going to repeat myself and agree entirely with Councillor Way. I actually personally think a single unitary authority is the best idea. Not only does the PwC report find it the cheapest option, but it's one that respects the history and geography of our area and the cultural and economic ecosystem that is Nottinghamshire, with city centre services, farming and leisure in the country areas, and industry and housing in the suburbs. But this would only work if all areas have strong town and parish councils. But anyhow, moving on. You talk about the process being ill thought out and costly, Councillor Clark. I'll tell you what's ill thought out and costly. Spending £64,000 on investigating a scheme which you knew was a non-starter. You also tell us how precious our reserves are. I think we have residents who can suggest other ways you could be spending that money. You keep telling us we support the city financially, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but there are good reasons why the city has financial problems, because they have a very low level of council tax raised per household, can I remind you? And we have a very high level of council tax raised per household because we're Band D houses, they're Band B houses. Everybody gets things wrong, but that's the primary problem. We need to change the arrangements of local government finance. And as you've noted, the city have got themselves tidied up already. But also, as you said, logic here. At the moment, I understand, giving 80% of our council tax to the northern parts of the county. Under your plans, we'll be giving most of our council tax to areas 40 miles away, rather than the neighbours who are actually providing services. So many people in my area use the city centre libraries.
Under Plan 1B, West Bridgford is the only urban area in that plan. You talk about the needs of the residents of Bingham and Keyworth. 40% of residents in Rushcliffe live in West Bridgford. We live in a city area, a suburban area, and you need to bear that in mind when considering this. Living in a suburban area is extremely sustainable, and it's very easy to provide services in our area, much cheaper to collect our bins than it is out in the countryside. So what you're doing is you're setting up a process where, frankly, the residents of West Bridgford will be supporting everybody else in Nottinghamshire. You say that the city, why does the city need Rushcliffe? Well, why don't we see it as why does Rushcliffe need the city? In my area, I would suggest to you, one of the reasons Rushcliffe needs the city is because we need a joined up conversation about the football club, right? We need somebody to talk about the traffic around the football club. We need the city and the county to get their heads together and work it out. We've got two councils either side of two bridges, one bridge owned by one council, one bridge owned by the other council, one council owning one part of the embankment, the other council owning the other part of the embankment. This is daft, right? There are reasons that this makes sense. There are reasons, as I said, that my preferred solution is not for one council to take over another. I think we need a single Nottinghamshire. But, you know, what is wrong is 1B that lumps somewhere in Councillor Plant's area at the south end of West Bridge, Trent Bridge, with somewhere up in Northford Basseslaw. I do agree with Councillor Manzo. We need a complete review of local council finance with much more localism built in. Thank you.
Next on the list, I have Councillor Grocott. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation put before us this evening represents a critical step in the local government reorganisation process, and I welcome it being brought before us this chamber this evening. I'm grateful to the council's leadership for doing so. It's good to see that PwC's option 2 is not being put forward by the majority party this evening. This was never a serious proposal, unimaginatively leaving the city on its current and sustainable boundaries with a gigantic county unitary donut with far too large a population. However, I don't think this evening's recommendations moves us on significantly, nor takes into account the reality of the situation across the 9 local authorities in Nottinghamshire. Members will know that councils across the county are forming their positions, and at least 5 of Nottinghamshire's 7 districts are coalescing around option 1E, Rushcliffe, Nottingham and Broxtowe, with, I believe, additional councils open to this proposal. Whilst it's true that PwC option 1B has some support outside of the Rushcliffe Conservative group, I think it's highly unlikely that any other council would support section F of the recommendation, which seems to be a counterproductive red line that at some point must be crossed. Last time we discussed this topic, I spoke in favour of boundary reviews and was told by the leader that they were not feasible within the timescales laid down by government, and that government would only consider them as their last resort. However, subsequent communication from government in response to the last joint submission by Nottinghamshire councils has indicated a greater openness to boundary reviews, with both Nottingham City Council revisiting these options, and as Councillor Malland has mentioned, Newark and Sherwood Council earlier this week considering a variant of option 1E that would see the Rushcliffe Borough section of the Newark parliamentary constituency, Bingham and surrounds, incorporated into the proposed North Nottinghamshire Unitary Authority. Yet this administration continues to cling to its no surrender mantra, as we've heard here from Councillor Solomon, with regards to possible boundary reviews and the reasonable consideration that some sections of Rushcliffe will be more suitably incorporated into a greater South Nottinghamshire Council than perhaps other areas of Nottingham's neighbouring boroughs. In its support for option 1E, Newark and Sherwood District Council's LGR report that went to their full council makes the reasonable observation that rural areas of Gedling, including large villages such as Ravenshead, which is closer to Mansfield than Nottingham, incidentally, have far more of a connection and relationship with northern and eastern Nottinghamshire than many rural parts of this borough. I think members in this chamber must acknowledge this. Councillor Edivine has himself admitted that he looks south to Leicester and Leicestershire rather than north to the city of Nottingham. But how can he and the other members opposite possibly feel a greater affinity with towns even further to the north, like Mansfield, Worksop, or Harworth on Nottinghamshire's distant northern border? At the same time, I'm clear that the rural parts of eastern Rushcliffe, such as the areas around Bingham, do have a stronger relationship and connection with the rural areas of eastern and central Nottinghamshire to the north, which will form part of the proposed North Nottinghamshire Unitary Authority
whatever option is taken. Certainly, I'm sure my fellow members from the Bingham area would recognise that we have more in common with rural and not to say the urban parts of Gedling, Arnold, Carlton, Netherfield, which in my own view should form part of the proposed Greater Nottingham Unitary ahead of east areas of eastern rural Rushcliffe. Now, I realise that the council's leadership is probably loath to initiate a save yourselves, every councillor for themselves round of infighting amongst their group, with some councillors sacrificed on the altar of unification with the dreadful city, whilst others are permitted to escape to the relative safe bosom of North Nottinghamshire. But that does not change the reality that if the members opposite are so adamant that Rushcliffe should not join with the city, and if the recommendation of Nottinghamshire other councils do on the whole favour 1E, then the best bet to save at least a proportion of Rushcliffe is to secure a commitment to a boundary review that other councils will support, because they aren't going to support 1B. If not before the reorganisation, then with a commitment from government to ensure that it will take place within a fixed timescale from the date that LGR takes effect. Without any statement in this recommendation that this council would at least consider the option of a boundary review at some stage in this process, I cannot support it. Thank you.
Next on my list is Councillor Gaunt. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, it's difficult to follow those speeches, so just going to start with as many people here tonight have already stated, as a group, the Labour group can't support the recommendation as it stands, as it seems to be built on data that at best can be described as shaky and at worst dodgy and politically biased. Sadly, unfortunately, the reliance on data from the KPMG analysis seems to be the main reason that we're obsessed with 1B over 1E, unless this is simply a choice designed to meet a county council election pledge, which some people have suggested. If so, that's a shame, that really is, and you should be embarrassed. But if not, we need to look at the data. The choice by KPMG, the ruling party, or the leadership, I don't know who really, to include the results of the Conservative Party's election petition as valid data is completely unreliable. We tried several times through email, through any kind of communication we could, and in this chamber, to distance the council from the petition, and that was fully ignored. Now we find that grubby petition centre stage in the analysis, and it's rearing its ugly head again. We find it used as valid data to suggest that 1B overrides other options. Even to the untrained eye, this is poor judgment. How do we know, and people have touched on this already, who the people were who signed this petition? Do we know that they live in Rushcliffe, Mansfield, Grimsby? I've seen people on Facebook commenting they're from Grimsby. Brilliant. Well, good for them. But they don't represent us. What were the questions? How was it framed? Who was it aimed at? All these questions are really just simple, valid questions that need to be asked before we can accept that data as valid. Just to prove that, I did a little short straw poll of my year 8 class at the end of the day. It wasn't political, don't worry. I wasn't trying to persuade them to vote for anything. I just said at the end, one question, tell me what you think. I asked them this, I said, do you want a sustainable and vibrant city of Nottingham? 100% of those children put their hand up and said yes. I'd framed the question, it got what the results I kind of wanted to hear, right? Therefore, should I use this data as evidence that Nottingham should join together with Rushcliffe because people in Nottingham want a vibrant city? Of course not. That's madness. Not only madness, it's completely irresponsible. No professional group would even contemplate that. So if that's wrong, please show me the difference between your data and my kid's straw poll, because I can't see any. Why would the Tories want to use this evidence and include it? Well, it's obvious. They're just trying to meet an election pledge. Secondly, just want to point out why we can't accept it as well. It calls for a temporary pause. I think it's 1C or C there. We shouldn't be calling for a temporary pause. We tried to amend and ask that there's no more chance that we will revisit the 3 unitary authority option, because it's already cost £64,000. And as alluded to, it's going to cost hundreds of £1,000s to go any further. That would never, we knew at the start this would never pass the government's own criteria, and the criteria set as Nottingham's city boundaries remained completely intact in that 3-tier option, or 3 unitary option, right? That's unsustainable. One of the key criteria of this whole thing is that it has to provide sustainable services. We know that is not possible with the current city boundaries. So why we pressed ahead with an idea that kept the city the same size and messed around in the county to see what would suit us best, that cost £64,000 is unbelievable, to pick an option that was dead from the start. Why did we do this? don't want to say it again, but maybe it was to fulfil an election pledge that the Rushcliffe Conservatives have put forward. Thirdly, though, keeping the recommendation as it stands, which with their F in there, we can't support that, as everybody else has said. It takes us into a negotiation, right, which we will lose if we are tied to a position that we can't shift on. 1F takes us into a negotiation phase with a commitment to maintain Rushcliffe's boundaries as they stand. Well, what if, down the line, an option, which some people in here I know would favour, came forward from the city or somebody else, put forward by some really talented people from KPMG, for instance, and they came forward with an analysis that showed that by far an expanded city boundary and the combined unitary authority of West of Nottinghamshire was the most sustainable option and won by miles, all green on your little spreadsheet, right? If that came forward, you would not be able to accept that because you bound yourself with this statement. So if we vote for this tonight, we don't have to fear that we don't want a situation like Councillor Solomon says that
30 seconds.
Broxtowe, Gedling and Nottingham is off. We're not voting against that. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you. We're voting for other additional options that we should be taking into discussion and taking into this whole thing in consultation and done properly, not shutting the door on all the ideas and taking a tiny little self-motivated, self-interested view forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next on the list is Councillor Chewings.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, apologies for not standing up earlier. It's been a long day and I'm big enough to apologise, unlike Councillor Clark for his outburst earlier. Let's just refer to the matter at hand, the LGR. I think across the room, both sides agree that this has been thrust upon us by central government, something that is not fit for purpose in what we need to be doing. And we're trying to make the best of a bad job. And that's why we're here today and we're debating. And I made clear my views the last time we debated LGR, the EGM, and we're here today. Do I believe 1B to be the best option? No, I don't. But I will be voting in favour of the recommendations today. I'll come to the reasons why shortly. Come back to our amendment, which I'm pleased to hear Councillor Clark accepted on behalf of the Conservative group opposite. So I want to touch a few points really. Councillor Clark made mention about the appendices and the engagement, etc. But the matter at hand has decided is those recommendations. Those recommendations, as they were, did not allow for that engagement of this council to take out to our residents, to our constituents, those that voted us in. There's been a lot of positioning from both sides, from the Labour group and the Conservatives, about what is best for the individuals of Rushcliffe. They can only be identified with true, fair, impartial, I use that term impartial, engagement. That has not happened up to this point. We've looked at the KPMG report, which has cost £64,000 of this council. And under section 6, stronger community engagement and neighbour empowerment, at the meeting we had just the other week, when it was queried by myself, I believe Councillor Gaunt, it was clarified that that information, the high scoring, was based upon the petition, the Conservative related political petition that has never been submitted to this council, that's never been checked off to ensure that it is residents of this authority area, but it has been used for a position in a paper and funded by the taxpayers of this borough. And that is a disgrace. Let me be clear, that is absolutely disgraceful. So I'm pleased we have the amendment to H. And it's even more important because it wasn't there in the first place. But when you look at the response back in Appendix A, the Local Government Reorganisation Interim Plan Feedback, on page 7, the section 14, public consultation or referendum on final proposals. We note the request in the letter from Rushcliffe Borough Council for a public consultation exercise or a referendum on the final proposals, as stated above. It is for you to decide how best to engage locally in a meaningful and constructive way with your stakeholders, including residents. Yet the original version of Part G never included that. It now does. And I will be holding this council to account, if it is passed today, that the council will undertake a borough-wide engagement survey to ensure the voices of Rushcliffe constituents are clearly heard and not using the politically motivated, narrow-minded petition done by the Conservative Party. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I now have Councillor Jonathan Wheeler.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I think there's been a reference about the money we're spending on the extra report we've done for our option. I think it's worth saying it's, in my view, was money well spent because it's actually shown up, it's had the option go out there, it's been appraised independently, and it's also shown that it could work. Obviously, we've said at the moment we want to go ahead with 1B, but we also know that councils are changing their mind every day, it seems, about what option they want to do. So it could be that other councils come on board. For example, the letter that the leader of Newark sent to you, leader, saying, I only have a mandate to go for the option set out the report, and then Tuesday put in a new option with a different version that hadn't been sent to other leaders. That shows that councils are changing their view on a daily basis, and so we could see other councils join with our new option. And in terms of money spent, let's be absolutely clear, we never asked to go for LGR, we never asked to do this. This is money we're having to do in a reply to the government who aren't giving enough funding for us to go through the LGR process by ourselves, so we're having to do the work out of our payers' money from the taxpayer. But it's also worth saying that we're not doing what other councils are doing, like Nottingham City Council spent over £100,000 on officer just to deal with LGR, and there is a council independent run in the north of the county that has set up a new scrutiny committee with SRAs for a chairman and vice chairman just to look at LGR. That's not what this council is doing, and we've got officers and councillors who are undertaking those roles in addition to their duties in the extra pay. It's also worth saying around the consultation, so we're happy to have the consultation there. As the leader has already said, it's already been worked on, and we actually called for a consultation in March anyway. So really happy that, that's in there and it's formalised for people to see. But look forward to seeing that joint work that's being currently undertaken by all the councils. And it really does wind me up, I'll be honest, and I will say about the thing about the Nottingham City and the reasoning what Banji houses, etc. It's their choice. I mean, there was a report in the Nottingham Post a couple of days ago that they've got student houses now that they can't even fill. There's a record amount of empty student flats, and yet they're asking planning permission for even more student flats and houses. They could have built 10,000 Banji houses 10, 15 years ago if they wanted, probably still can with the amount of land in the city, but political reason choosing not to. So all political choice, and that's why one of the key reasons people don't want to join the city. Talk about the petition, it does give Brom to what people think. I've knocked on over 3,000 doors in elections, but colleagues done the same, and also people from other political parties. And number one issue on the doorstep wasn't even potholes. And if you asked me that 6 months ago, I would have told you that it was literally LGR not wanting to join with a new city council. They were their words. And someone said to me, "Oh, I've been told by another party that it's all down to your petition, but I've no way in mind. I'm smart enough to know I don't want to join the city. I really don't." And so that is why, again, we took forward that other option, because that was feedback from people. And again, Council Manager, completely agree with your point about boundary commission. If we really think that the government are going to allow boundary reviews across the majority of councils across the country, I think we're deluded. How long does it take to do a boundary review for a parish or borough council? We'd be talking 10, 15 years before we at least to do for the whole country. We're prepared to be a councillor for a very, very long time for an election if that was to happen. So again, one of the reasons why we're trying to do the best option that will be supported by the government. So really hope everyone supports option 1B this evening, and I'm sure there'll be other councils on board who will support that as well once they see that it's going to be the best option for residents out of a poor choice of option we've got that's been forced on us by the Labour government. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wheeler. Councillor Sims, please.
Thanks, Chair. Representing one of the most rural boroughs in our borough, or rural areas in our borough, East Bridgford. I've asked a lot of people about this. It's a very leafy area as East Bridgford. I was recently at East Bridgford Show giving some awards. Asked lots of people, and none of them said that they wanted to be within the city. Surprised. Not one. In fact, there was a lot of people quite annoyed about the concept of East Bridgford area, Flintham, all around there, being part of a city, having city council there. Nice, we've got nice leisure centres not being shut down like the city council shut libraries and leisure centres and things down. And in fact, I was having some social time recently with Councillor Grocott. And I'm sure if in that leafy suburb of Aslopton and Alston, at the football club there, if he had mentioned it to the people there, I'm sure Councillor Grocott would have been lynched, metaphorically.
Sorry, can I
metaphorically.
Point of personal what's-a-doodle explanation. Yeah, sorry, we're talking. Sorry, I don't want to cut.
No, I'm going to get to my point in a minute.
I'm enjoying it, but Part H says, from now on, can we make it clear that Nottingham and Nottinghamshire areas will be completely new organisations? And he spent a lot of time talking about how East Bridgeford doesn't want to be part of a city. It's about 15 miles away from the city.
Right,
It's
I'm
not
going
going to be
to
absorbed into.
I'm going to get there.
If we could just stick to that. Is that
I'm
right?
going to get there.
Thank you.
I'm going to get there.
Thank you.
Can we just, so anyway, metaphorically, Councillor.
I really object to him referring to one of my councillors being lynched, actually. And I think you, Chris Grocott.
Councillor Grocott, I apologise for the metaphoric joke, but having some social time with you, I'm sure you understand that I was just having a joke with you. But hurty words. And so, sorry, I've been thrown off my, so if you give me a bit more time, because I have been most rudely interrupted. So here we have it, this, the Labour side trying to get us, our borough, into the city. I wonder why. And they're accusing us of political opportunism. What is the city? It's Labour. What are they? Labour, it gives them power, doesn't it? It gives them power. If Rushcliffe goes into the city, it gives them power, so they then can destroy this borough, because no services relative, it'll all go to the city and we will be ignored. My leafy suburb citizens will be ignored and we'll be second-class citizens, and that's why 1B is our only choice. I don't want this, like Councillor Manager said, we don't want this. It wasn't in the manifesto. We don't want this. Rushcliffe is a great borough. We love living here, but we don't want to be part of a city council that hemorrhages and wastes money. And because the Labour lot like to do that, then that's up to them. But it's not down to us. So I've finished. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
To speak.
Would any councillor like to speak at all, or do we move on to?
I'm sure my voters are smart enough to appreciate nuance. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Councillor Brennan, you've got the reserve of the right to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Listening to this debate just makes me realise how much energy, time, expertise, effort, passion, money is being spent on this process for an outcome that I can barely recognise anymore from the discussions that we've had here. I think the point Councillor Mallender made about democracy being removed from the people and going higher up, I absolutely agree. I can't see benefits for the borough of Rushcliffe from this process at all, and I don't feel that this is a good use of our time. We have to do it. It's been imposed upon us. We have no choice. We have to engage with it. We have to work with other local authorities to see this process through. But my God, I wish we didn't have to. I wish we were talking about something else tonight rather than spending hours shouting at each other over a process that none of us saw, was not in the Labour Party's manifesto, and none of us particularly want to see happen at this point in time. Even if we can all agree that single tiers may be the most efficient way, this has been rushed through. It's been done in a way that ensures politicisation because it's not come forward with a recommendation. It's asked local councils to work together. And that brings me to point about 1B. 1B is not something we made up. It's not something we commissioned from PwC. 1B is one of the already agreed recommendations put forward by all the authorities across the borough based on research by KPMG. Now, if you think that PwC has been... Sorry? PwC, KPMG, they are paying huge amounts of money. They charge huge amounts of money. And you're saying that they're not, you know, we can't rely on that information. Well, whose information can we rely on? We have to go with those people who have the expertise. And they have put forward 1B. 1B has been agreed by all the authorities across Nottinghamshire. the city, the county and all the boroughs and districts. It's been submitted to government as a possible option. It's not something we've manufactured through our own reports for our own ends. It is one of the proposals put forward. You've criticised us for looking at an alternative. You've criticised us for spending money on getting the right expertise to look at an alternative. Then you've criticised us to stop spending the money when it appeared that the alternative may not be the best one to go forward. So you can't win. We've gone at the moment with an option that's been put forward and agreed by all of the local authorities, all including the city. The city has not come up with an option for new boundaries. What have they been doing? At the moment, the city is only putting forward those 1B, 1A, 1C, the ones in the joint agreed submission to government. So there is nothing else on the table. We put something else on the table. We did the hard work. We did it on our own. We paid for it because the government has put us in a position where we have to pay for it. And at the moment, we're pausing it while we look at another option already agreed by other local authorities. We haven't just magicked this out of the air. It's already agreed. So all this is doing is trying to narrow down the options. We are trying to find the best option for the borough of Rushcliffe. We're still engaged with all the other authorities. There is some highly optimistic view that come November, we will have all agreed on one option that suits everybody, that works, that's efficient, that's politically acceptable, that is going to bail out the city, that's going to do all of the things that the government wants to see happen. Well, I don't know if any of you are betting people, but I wouldn't be putting my mortgage on that happening. So we need to keep doors open, but we do need to reach a point of narrowing down at some point. Otherwise, we'll all be submitting individual bids in November and nothing will be agreed and it'll be imposed upon us. So therefore, we are still in the game. We're going with what we think is the best for the borough of Rushcliffe. We're still talking to the others, to the other boroughs, districts, city and county councils. We will engage with town parish councils and other partners as the process goes on. But at the moment, this, I believe, is the best option for us. And I would hope that everybody would support this recommendation.
Well done. Thank you, Councillor Brennan. Councillor Clark, you have the right to reply to the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and excellent. In fact, Councillor Brennan's pretty much summed it up for me. Agree with everything she's just said. But surprisingly, keep this to yourself, Mr. Mayor. I also agree with Councillor Chewings, because he said this was thrust upon us by the government. Absolutely, it definitely was. As several other councillors have made similar type comments. Basically, we wouldn't have started from here, would we? I mean, Councillor Mallender talked about burnt or fried. Yeah, you're right. I wouldn't have started from here if we were given the choice, but we haven't been given the choice as to when you would like to do a reorganisation. It's been thrust upon us with an impossibly short timescale in terms of local government. Lots of things haven't been considered. Councillor Walker was complaining about the process. Well, why didn't she lobby the minister of her own political persuasion and get him to change his mind before he issued all his instructions to tell us to do all these horrible things that we actually don't want to do? I think it was Councillor Calvert, and forgive me if it wasn't, who said there's no support from other councils. How does he know that? Not all the other councils have expressed a view yet, but certainly the government go ahead with a tight timescale. That bit, I definitely, was it Councillor Groker? I apologise, whoever it was. Boundary reviews, they are an impossible timescale. Lots of variations, lots of variants, and no matter which borders you choose, there's always going to be somebody on the edge of an area. Wherever you make the area, there's always somebody there, and it's not an ideal situation. I'm partially repeating really what Councillor Brennan said here, because in answer to the criticism about us spending money on KPMG, well, we're the only council to have actually looked at other options. The others just stuck to obsessions of two councils. But we wanted to expand our views and look at other options, unlike other councils. So it is a question of damned if we do, damned if we don't, because we couldn't have done right for doing wrong. Energy and effort absolutely is all being expounded on this. It is taking up time and effort that we shouldn't be using on this. There was a suggestion that the all-encompassing single unitary for Nottinghamshire, what comes around comes around. That's what it was like 50, lost track of time, 50, whatever it was, 55, 60 years ago. But there we go. So, as I say, what comes around comes around. There is no easy option. I don't like a lot of the suggestions that have been made by other councils, because I don't believe they are for the benefit of Nottinghamshire as a whole. So I really do implore that in order to progress the work, in order that we carry on, then we need to support these recommendations. We have accepted those amendments. Engagement with the public is always difficult. It's a very difficult exercise to, especially given the short timescale. It's a question of when, because I repeat what I said in my very opening remarks. This is not the final decision. This is a staging post, if you like. And we've tried to keep the council informed. In answer to the criticism about timing of papers, then it's a question of we have shared the information as soon as we have had it available from elsewhere. So I don't accept that criticism at all. I really hope that everybody will support these recommendations, and I'd like to request a recorded vote, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Could we, a recorded vote's been asked for. Are there any other councillors that will support the vote? Yep, that's over 4, so therefore it is a recorded vote.
Thank you very much. So we will go to the vote then. All in favour?
No,
Oh, recorded, sorry.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Yeah.
Rachel.
Yeah.
Okay, so a recorded vote, I will now read the names of each councillor alphabetically, and if that councillor could then, when your name's called, please indicate whether you are voting in favour or against or abstaining from the recommendation, which is up on the screen now. So first of all, councillor Barney.
For.
Councillor Billing.
Against.
Councillor Birch.
For.
Councillor Bird.
For.
Councillor Brennan. For. Councillor Brown.
For.
Councillor Butler.
For.
Councillor Calvert. Councillor Chaplin. Against. Councillor Chewings.
For.
Councillor Clark.
For.
Councillor Cummelback.
For.
Councillor Cotty.
For.
Councillor Della. Councillor Edivine.
For.
Councillor Ellis.
For.
Councillor Fletcher.
Against.
Councillor Gaunt.
Against.
Councillor Georgiou.
For.
Councillor Gowland.
Against.
Councillor Grocott.
Against.
Councillor Inglis.
For.
Councillor Richard Mallender.
I don't feel it's a meaningful choice and it's on an interim report. Therefore, at this point, I will abstain.
Abstain. Councillor Sue Mallender.
Abstain.
Councillor Mason.
For.
Councillor Matthews.
For.
Councillor Om.
For.
Councillor Perek.
For.
We've had apologies from Councillor Phillips. Councillor Plant. Councillor Polenta.
Yeah.
Councillor Regan. Councillor Sims.
For.
Councillor Solomon.
For.
Councillor Thomas.
Abstain.
Councillor Upton.
For.
Councillor Verdi.
For.
Councillor Jen Walker.
Yes.
Councillor Rex Walker.
For.
Councillor Way.
Abstain.
Councillor Wells.
For.
Councillor Gordon Wheeler. Councillor Jonathan Wheeler.
For.
Councillor Williams.
For.
Thank you.
Thank you. The recorded votes are 429. For against is 10 and abstain is 4. So the motion is carried. And we'll take 5 minutes, please, if you'd like to stretch your legs. And in 5 minutes, we will be starting again. Thank you. Thank you very much. Item 12, notice of motions. To receive notices of motion submitted under standing order number 12. Notice of motion to be put by Councillor Jonathan Wheeler and seconded by Councillor Brown. Thank you, Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And after the last item, hopefully this is something we can all agree on. So I've written this motion to you all this evening, recognising that the majority of members in this chamber were not here when we first signed the Armed Forces Covenant, and that we have seen many changes to our relationship with the Armed Forces here in Rushcliffe since 2015. Since the last signed the covenant, we have had the DMRC open at Stamford Hall, supporting military personnel, their families and veterans from across the country. I've had the honour of visiting Stamford Hall, and the facilities there are incredible and make a huge difference to recovery and treatment of so many people. We have seen our showcase event to celebrate our armed forces, Promise in the Park, grow into the highlight of the year for many Rushcliffe residents, with thousands of people now attending year on year, an event winning an award at the Nottingham Boots and Berries Awards in 2024. We were re-awarded the Armed Forces Covenant Armed Forces Covenant Employees Scheme Gold Award last year, which is the highest honour for organisations that have signed the Armed Forces Covenant. This is a testament to the work this council does, and I would like to especially mention and thank Nicola Wells, who leads on the support for our armed forces, along with many other roles she undertakes for this council. By re-signing the covenant, we are reaffirming our commitment from Rushcliffe Borough Council to our armed forces and veterans way beyond our legal duty, and ensure they know how grateful we all are for their service and the sacrifice they make on our behalf. Finally, I'd like to encourage any member of our armed forces or veterans who may need support to get in contact with us. Mr. Mayor, I therefore formally move the motion, which is to reaffirm this council's support to the Armed Forces Covenant by signing up again. Welcome Rushcliffe Borough Council being re-awarded of the Gold Award for the Armed Forces Covenant Employees Scheme. Based on record, our thanks for all those who serve the armed forces, their family and friends, and all of our veterans, and encourage all employees in Rushcliffe to sign up to the Employee Recognition Scheme Award. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I second the motion and reserve the right to speak.
Thank you. Anybody like to speak at all? Okay, if you'd like to speak, take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As an ex-forces member myself, I have a strong belief in supporting our current and ex-forces men and women that have put themselves up to protect this country. The difficulties that ex-forces personnel face after leaving the army, for example, are not always obvious. I joined the army in 1974 as a junior leader when I was 16. I've served my country for 5 years, 1.5 of those years I was in Northern Ireland. Without even the stress of serving in the combat zone, it can be extremely difficult for some people leaving to adjust back into civilian life. Schemes such as the Armed Forces Covenant are vital support for the current ex-forces and the families of our military community. We in the Labour Group are passionate about supporting our military personnel, which is why we will be supporting this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fletcher. Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I mean, who wouldn't support this motion? And it's nice to have a motion here. I'm confident as I can be that everybody will be thoroughly supporting it, but it is important that we do reaffirm our support for the armed forces. In Rushcliffe, the number of establishments have ebbed and flowed. We used to have several RAF stations which have now closed, and we used to have, going way back, Rushcliffe Country Park is on the site of the original Ordnance Storage and Disposal Depot, which I did visit some time back when I was an awfully lot younger. In terms of naval establishments, then I think that's probably a bit of work in progress, shall we say. I'm not sure that we have many naval establishments in Rushcliffe, but in terms of the main establishment, now the DMRC, which was obviously part of the DNRC original project, and I was involved with that right from the very start when the General first came up to ask if we were interested in hosting it, and it took me a nanosecond to say yes, we were interested, and the rest is history. And that has been an incredibly important part and becomes an even ever important part of the borough of Rushcliffe. So I absolutely support this motion, and may they always be supported. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Councillor Gaunt, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not speaking in any way to talk. Well, I want to hold and say what Councillor Fletcher said is absolutely fantastic. I want him to have the final word on anything to do with this motion, because as a person who's served and experienced this, he's the guy who should get the word on it. I don't want to let this moment pass though without pointing out that in our current political situation around the country, there's been a lot of attack on diversity and inclusion measures. And where's the woke agenda? Where's the woke money going? Where's this diversity money going? This is an absolute champion blue ribbon example of diversity and inclusion in operation. That second bullet point about us getting a gold award, that's absolutely fantastic, that we're working to ensure that anybody who's served in the military gets through the selection process to at least an interview, that kind of thing, so that we're ensuring that they're included in opportunities. That's diversity and inclusion, not biodiversity. Diversity and inclusion in practice. This is brilliant. So well done to the borough and the officers. Well done to everyone who's set this up. It's fantastic. The only thing I'd also like to ask is, could we go out and work a bit more with local businesses to ensure that they're hearing about this and finding out how they would maybe reach this level and, you know, can employ people who served in the military? That would be brilliant if we could work on that as an option. But yeah, fantastic. Well done. It's brilliant. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Birch. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to begin by thanking Councillor Fletcher for his service. Thank you. I absolutely agree with the motion. I have family members myself who are veterans. One served in the First Gulf War, another served in Afghan and Iraq the early part of this century. And I'm very aware, as I'm sure a lot of us are, of the challenges that veterans go through on a daily basis. I do have to disagree respectfully with Councillor Gaunt's point. I see what he's getting at. To me, that the difference between this and DEI programmes generally is DEI programmes, which I am opposed to, are normally based on an immutable characteristic, whereas this is based on something somebody has done and sacrificed. There is the difference, I think. It's a fair point that you've made, but that's why I disagree with you. I think veterans should be supported in any way, shape or form that we can. Actually, more generally, I think as a country, we should have a lot more respect for our veterans in our discourse, and I think we do. So I fully support the motion, and well done to the borough for what we do, and thank you for bringing the motion.
Does anybody else wish to speak? Okay, we could go to Councillor Brown. Would you like to respond?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I'm delighted to be able to second this motion and reaffirm our support for the armed forces. As a borough, we should be proud that Rushcliffe was chosen for the location of the DMRC, probably the finest rehabilitation centre in the world, which I've had the pleasure of visiting on several occasions. Let us also not forget Norton House in Stamford-on-Soar, where only 2 weeks ago I presented them with a cheque for almost £8,000 raised from my year as mayor. During that year, I came across 3 veterans seeking help here in Rushcliffe, one of which was sleeping rough in Ruddington. He was an ex-Royal Marine suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome and sight problems from injuries received in Afghan. With the help of officers from this council, together with councillors Edivine and Fletcher and Safa, my charity, he was found supervised accommodation in Nottingham. There's just a few examples of why it is important that all of us here this evening must support this motion and our armed forces. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Jonathan Wheeler, do you wish to respond to the debate?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to say thank you to everyone for their comments. didn't get down to the DI process when I was anticipating the responses, but thank you everyone who made the comments. And again, Councillor, I'd like to thank you again for your service and your kind comments as well. And more happy to work with you on any suggestions and ideas you have for what we do as a borough with our armed forces. And Councillor Gaunt, we talk about work with business. So we do work a lot with business across the borough. I say we, and Nicola Wells does a lot of work there. So we've worked with Nottingham Rugby Club, so actually helped them sign up to the Armed Forces Covenant as well. They got the Bronze Award awarded last month. Well, I said last month, a few months ago now. I actually went with Councillor Brown when he was mayor, which was quite brave because he decided to tell a big room of rugby players how he had Leicester Tigers tattoos. So I had to make a escape from there after he managed to tell them that. But like I say, we are more happy to work with them. And again, anyone who knows the local area who would like to sign up, please do get in contact with us and we'll give them the support as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wheeler. We will now go to the vote on the motion. All in favour? Anyone against? Any abstentions?
It's unanimous.
I declare the motion is carried. Thank you. Unanimous. Item 13 is questions from councillors. Councillor Gowland, would you like to put your question to Councillor Inglis?
I thank you, Councillor Inglis. Can the council explain how residents are made aware of reports of land contamination and related warnings from Rushcliffe Borough Council Environmental Health? For instance, are the reports made available in a way that will be found on land searches or public searches? Does the planning committee advise developers or utilities of any reports on land in which they're likely to work? Thank you.
Councillor Inglis, would you like to reply?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Gowan, for your question. So similar to all district and borough councils, this council has a public register of land that's been determined as contaminated under Part 2A of the Environmental Protection Act of 1990, which provides a risk-based approach to the identification of land where contamination poses an unacceptable risk to human health or the environment, which can be easily accessed via the council's website. The council also holds a range of information on its Geographic Information System, or GIS, covering historical land usage, a system employed to help inform responses to public inquiries, particularly in relation to when people are purchasing property, where land searches are undertaken, which will include an environmental element. In addition to the standard land search information, some purchasers decide to undertake a CON 29, which is an inquiry means to identify potential issues that could affect property, its value in future use. This contains a standard list of questions and some optional queries that relate to land contamination. The council will provide a response based upon the information that it holds. In terms of the planning committee, that is not a role of the planning committee to advise developers or utility companies of any contamination. When determining a planning application, environmental health are statutory consultees and will raise any appropriate known matters in relation to the site as already outlined. Thank you.
Councillor Gowland, do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry. I should have said planning system, not planning committee. Apologies. So you talked about levels of acceptable risk in the beginning of that answer. So my question would be, if a report had said, should the use of the land change, in particular, should excavations be undertaken, then further investigation works would be warranted, would that then be picked up by any of these reports, these processes?
Yeah, again, as I said, environmental health are a statutory nominee. They will pick that up on the planning application. There'll be stringent conditions for those to be met, and they will not be discharged until they've been passed.
Thank you very much. Question B is Councillor Plant. Would you like to put your question to Councillor Brennan?
Thank you. Can the Cabinet member, Councillor Brennan, responsible for economic development, clarify if they are aware of any factors that may change the planned uses of the Ratcliffe-on-Soar power station site? Thank you.
Thank you. I can clarify that I'm not aware of any such factors. We work closely with all the partners involved in the development of the site. We've only just recently met with Uniper and the Freeport, along with all the parish councils in the area, to discuss plans and progress on the site. And to my knowledge, partners including EMCA remain committed to bringing this site forward for green energy, innovative businesses, and to address the capacity of the motorway junction.
Thank you, Councillor Plan. Yeah. That's all right.
Still me.
I was trying to get that right. Councillor Plant, do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Brennan. Obviously, the Ratcliffe-on-Soar power station is is the largest commercial development site in Rushcliffe, and it's certainly of great importance to the region as well, particularly as part of the only inland Freeport. It must be nearly 2 years since the local development order was actually planned and put into place. And I know that last night there was a growth and development scrutiny group meeting that met to actually scrutinise or discuss the Freeport. So I would like to know when and how all councillors will be updated on the actual progress and development of the site. Thank you.
Councillor Brennan to reply, please.
Thank you. Right, that was a long question. I think what you're saying is, when will you get an update on what's happening at the Freeport? Obviously, if the scrutiny group are considering it, that will be part of the process for doing it. I believe Cabinet is expected to take an update on the proposal in the next few months. But in terms of a precise date of when that update will be issued, I would need to come back to you in writing with a date.
Thank you. Councillor C, question C is, Councillor Gordon Wheeler, would you like to put your question to Councillor Clark?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If pleased to do so. Can the leader tell me what engagement the government undertook with this council before starting its new dispersal model to house asylum seekers? Thank you.
Councillor Clark, would you like to reply?
Oh, sorry, the light didn't come on. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The government's full asylum dispersal model was first implemented, or rather imposed, in April 2023. However, the model has had a very slow start. A number of revisions have taken place since that time, which has seen contingency hotel accommodation, such as Beaver Lodge, close, and the government's contractor Serco ramp up their search for accommodation in the private rented sector. This is particularly concerning given the pressure that already exists in this sector in Rushcliffe, given it's such a popular place to live. The latest revision to the policy, a couple of months ago, has seen Serco switch to a property-specific approval process. However, they only allow 5 days for the council to respond and allow 3 options. And those options are to accept, to limit with conditions, or to decline. When deciding which option the council has to have regard to home office disposal accommodation adjudication process. Whilst the document does refer to risks to both the asylum seekers and the community risk, the latter is very difficult for the council to provide evidence, since it is impossible to know who will be placed in the accommodation and their relevant history and background. This puts the council in a very difficult position to try and limit or decline such requests, which are coming through at quite a rate, given the number of channel crossings that are occurring. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Wheeler, do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I certainly do. Thank you. Thank you, the leader, for that answer. While it's absolutely right that this council helps support genuine asylum seekers within Rushcliffe, does the leader agree with me that Circle and the government, which of course must include our MP,
should ensure that appropriate housing is sourced in consultation with this community, and the local councils are fully consulted and funded in support the occupants. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Clark, would you like to reply? If you could make it fairly short, we can get the last question in. If you could do that. Thank you.
Right. No, okay. So yes, it will be short, and rather in the main debate we've had today, you'd be surprised if I didn't agree to being supporting local consultation, which certainly I think that should be the case. I do think that it would be preferable to amend the Home Office document to give better consideration to the demographics of the local area, so that there is a good fit. But I absolutely agree that there should be better consultation and better information given so that local councillors are aware of the circumstances of the policy.
Thank you very much, Councillor Clark. If you are all happy to take the last question, then we can clear all the questions that wish to be asked. Are you all happy with that?
So just for clarity, so we would be extending the meeting if it does just go over 10 o'clock, just for the purpose of that one meeting. So I just need your agreement so that we can have that done. So anybody against that? Thank you.
Thank you. The next question then is from Councillor Chewings. If you'd like to put your question to Councillor Upton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In recent months, I've become increasingly concerned by a pattern of delayed responses, missed determination deadlines, and a lack of timely communication from the planning department, both to applicants and councillors seeking updates on their behalf of the residents. Can the portfolio holder confirm what steps are being taken to improve service standards within the planning department, ensure that statutory internal response times are met, and restore public and member confidence in the service?
Thank you. Councillor Upton, would you like to reply, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Chewins, for your question. Our planning service is experiencing difficulties with its service due to an unusually high number of applications and staff resources. And this was recently communicated by email to all councillors, applicants and their agents. It's due to proposed changes to the planning system, including an increase in fees in April, that there have been significantly more pre-app inquiries and applications since last December, with a significant peak in March this year. Recently, 4 members of the team have left and one's taken extended leave, and there's been several complex major applications which needed a large amount of staff resources. The planning manager has, however, responded to this situation with a mix of internal promotions, external recruitment and agency staff, and 2 posts are currently going through the interview process. I appreciate that any delay in processing planning applications is frustrating for customers, but in my opinion, the team have responded to the challenges and have been working hard under pressure to try and maintain the service. If the number of applications returns to normal, as it appears to be doing, and the team becomes fully staffed fairly soon and actually embedded into the work, then I'm confident that the performance will continue to improve over the coming months. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Upton. Councillor Chewins, do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the response, Councillor Upton. Given the persistent issues and continual issues, I mean, I've got one email that's not been answered since the 12th of June. Will Councillor Upton commit to initiating a full review of the planning department's processes and performance with the aim of ensuring lessons are learned, service standards are improved, and that residents and elected members finally receive a timely and meaningful response?
Thank you for the supplementary. My response would be no, and I say no because of the information I gave in my earlier response. I believe we have turned the corner. I have every confidence in the planning team and the recruitment of the new staff who are arriving now and in the next few weeks. I have every confidence the issues will be resolved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just to let everyone know that please do not go out these 2 doors here. as the fire alarms will go off. Can we go out of the door at the back behind you, please? And when you get to the end of that corridor, turn left and you can press the green button and you'll be able to get straight out. So thank you very much.
That concludes the business.
And that concludes the business today.